Hello, welcome to the final installment of How to Hunter for Dragon Soul. This time we're looking at Madness of Deathwing, heroic, obviously. But before we get started, I just want to point out this fight is not a good fight for hunters. You'll notice that you'll probably be very low on the DPS charts the entire time. The reason for that, at the minute, hunters aren't benefiting that much from haste, not as much as some of the other classes. So for your raiding spec on this encounter, you really want to be survival, especially 10-man, because you're going to want the AoE on phase 2. 25-man you could probably get away with Beastmaster. Beastmaster doesn't have great AoE, but it'll probably push out higher single target DPS on this encounter. So don't be worried if you're not picked for this fight. Like I say, hunters aren't the best on this encounter, but I hope you get to go because it is a pretty awesome fight. Okay, to start, we normally have our range starting on Kalygosa's platform, which is the one on the far right. The reason for that is we need to get as much damage done on that before we actually go to that platform. It is the hardest platform, we'll be doing that one last. Hopefully we're going to have a lock and load proc to fire onto that. That's probably the way you're going to get the most DPS, but you can't be entirely sure just using Black Arrow on it. But as soon as you get the announcement for the corrupting parasite coming up, make sure you jump over to the other island, get ready to get away from where the corrupting parasite is going to land, which is always going to be just in front of Deathwing's arm. And then as soon as that's down, make sure you swap to the corrupting tentacle. And somebody's going to pop heroism for you, hopefully at this point. It is a long fight, so we can deal with having it right at the start when we've still got all of our cooldowns up. So the rest of the fight is pretty much the same as Raid Finder and also normal mode. So there's not a lot in terms of tactics that you have to do differently. In terms of maximising your DPS, what you can do is if you get the tentacle down before the parasite, you can AoE the regenerative bloods. Hopefully you can get them down before the parasite lands. What I will say, this goes for every encounter where you get the parasite up, make sure your pet isn't anywhere near it because it will kill it. So what you can do there to help out is you can use the pet's prowl ability. I've macroed it in and I've keybound it to my Q key, but just make sure you get ready to hit the prowl ability on your pet when the parasite's going to land and explode, because it will one-shot it otherwise if you're not careful. And then if you're bringing an important debuff, you're going to harm your raid's ability to actually do the fight properly. Okay, so once Ysera's platform is down, we're going to swap all the way over to the left to Alexstrasza's platform. If you want, you can get a bit of DPS onto Nozdormu's platform as well, but what we found is that we were actually over DPSing Nozdormu's platform when we got to it, so you know, it's not important that you do that depending on how good your DPS it is. But on this platform, on Alexstrasza's platform, you can use your pet and rapid fire cooldown. I would save it though to use on either the corruption or onto the parasite, whichever you're having difficulty with the most. Probably the parasite is more important to getting down. So I'm using them there. I'm actually using them on the corruption, but they'll be up for the parasite as well. Hopefully we're going to get a lock and load proc on those. You may see some other guides out there that are putting the parasite next to the corruption. We found it's better to put it into Nozdormu's little kind of time warp thing because it slows the cast down. We have less DPS on it, we're just putting the ranged DPS on there, so we don't have to get it down as quickly, and subsequently there's not as much moving around, and we found that it was a little bit better. Play around with that if you've got the DPS, do it our way, otherwise you can combine the parasite and the corruption together. So in terms of placement from the corruption, this is you do have to be very careful on Raid Finder normal. For the crush, it's not really important where you stand. In heroic, it really is. You do need to be not stacking people up in a line of sight from the corruption, because if it hits more than about 2 people, it's just going to be too much work for the healer, or the healers rather, to deal with. So what I find is it's normally best, people tend to stack at the arm end of the platform, but not the corruption end of the platform. So try to stick at the end of the corruption of the platform, or wherever you've really got the most space. But always keep an eye out. You don't want to be taking too many crushes and causing healer headaches. They will not like you if you're causing them headaches. Okay, we're going to move on to Nozdormu's platform now. It's important to note you can select Deathwing's arm whilst you're on the other platforms. So if you want to get an early Hunter's Mark on there, or if Black Arrow's off cooldown in, before you've moved across, try and get those shots on there and all the time. Don't have any downtime on any of your dots or anything like that. This is platforms where it starts to get interesting though. So we've got the corruption up. We need to be really quick on getting this corruption down now. So I'm ready to target it and move into place straight away. Now this is where you need to start timing your black arrows and start using something like, I don't think I actually use it here, but try and use your ice trap here on the parasite. If for your survival, that's going to give you an additional crit damage. But in terms of your black arrow, don't use it if the thing you're firing on is just about to die or is going to die before the black arrow falls off, because it's going to make you less effective of getting your lock and load procs. So, for example, don't waste black arrow on the Elementium bolt because it's going to die way before all of the ticks have finished. But equally, don't fire it. It's very important on this platform, don't fire it on the corruption because it's about to die as well. So why is it important that we keep our black arrow procs up? We can use our, as I've just done there, I've used my explosive trap, but basically we want lock and load procs going into this this section here. I've actually just wasted mine, so it's not a great example. But the reason we want lock and load procs here is for the tentacles that spawn, because we have to DPS them down. And if you can get a lock and load proc here, you can get 3 explosive shots on tentacles immediately, and that's gonna make those go down just very, very quickly. So basically what I've done there is I've just showed you how not to do it. But our healer's saying they went down quicker. But hopefully for the next set of tentacles we will have a lock and load proc up, and there we go, we've got it up. So just select one, explosive shot, select one, explosive shot, select one, explosive shot. Make sure you've got focus enough to do that third one, and if necessary another black arrow straight away. And then you should not have any problem DPSing down this arm. That should be fine. So again, you can put aspect to the pack on to get off the platform. You don't need it after you've done that first jump. Select Hunter's Mark on the arm. Get in position. Now on this platform the tentacle always appears on the right hand side, so you can always get in position on the left hand side of the platform, ready for the corruption. We've put up 2 marks on this platform as well. The blue mark is where we're going to put parasites, and the green mark is where we're going to stack up for Elementium Bolt. So on this one, because we do not have Nozdormu's Time Warp, we're actually going to stack the parasite next to the corruption. And what you saw there is I didn't actually use Prowl on my pet, and now he's dead. So I'm going to have to res him once the parasite is down. I think I might wait till actually the corruption is down. But this is where it starts to get really tight with DPS. You do need to maximise this as much as you can, and by this point your rapid fire should be off cooldown. So we've stacked up for the Elementium Bolt landing, and then we just want to make sure we spread out straight away, because otherwise if we get one crush on the entire group, we're all dead. Okay, so then let's just continue the DPS on the corruption. The parasite will be landing next. Thankfully it wasn't me this time. But the guy with the parasite on him is going to stack at the corruption. And then ideally you're going to have the tank that's dealing with the regenerative bloods is going to stack at the parasites, and then you can start to do AoE. Which is kind of our strong point on this fight. Lots and lots of lovely numbers. Lots of crits as well. And at this point, once we've stacked up at the arm, we can... If you've made the same schoolboy mistake as me, you can revive your pet. And then let's just burn out that DPS. Like I say, if you're getting your lock and load procs before the blistering tentacles come up, try to use them on the tentacles and not on Deathwing himself. It's a bit hit and miss, so obviously you can't guarantee a lock and load proc at this stage. If we could put a trap on Deathwing and have it hit the tentacles, we could very much guarantee a lock and load proc, but because it's a single target only, Black Arrow is not as great as ensuring we get that proc. But that's pretty hard, that platform there, so if you've got everything in position and you've maximised your DPS and your pet doesn't die, you should be good. At this point we've got another 3 marks up. This is where we're going to get more bloods spawning, and they are very important that they're all DPS down before they reach Deathwing. They're gonna, and the reason for that is every blood that reaches Deathwing is going to heal him up an additional 1%. So when did the bloods appear? They appear at 15, 10 and 5% HP left on Deathwing, so you really do need to be careful not to push him too far. Stop a percent before 10, 15 and 5, and also watch out for your dots. But the bloods that come down, you're going to want to slow those. You want every class that has a slow, they need to go on those bloods. So things like rogues with their crippling poisons, or boomkins with their shrooms, or us with our traps even. But it can only be a slow, not a stun. So traps work well, so if you can maybe combine your traps and a crippling poison from a rogue, that works really well. And then you just want a multi-shot, and if you can get an explosive shot down in the right place on time, fantastic. But here we see the bloods are coming up. Because this is like the closest one there that we've got on the right hand side, we don't have time really to put a trap down, but we're just going to try and multi-shot those, and we're going to try and get a spell weave proc from a multi-shot as often as we can. Spell weave is the thing that's going to do the most damage at this point. It's a random chance to proc off damage dealing abilities, I believe. And when it procs, so if you do a multi-shot on a congealing blood, a spell weave will actually proc on all of them at once, so it can be very effective. So you really need to get as many multi-shots off as you possibly can, so store focus up for when the congealing bloods are going to spawn. Now if you can get in position, one of those 3 positions, and get ready to put your traps down without using trap launcher, you're going to save yourself 2 GCDs there. That's going to make you very effective at slowing and doing AoE damage on the congealing bloods. But once they are down, hopefully none are going to get back to Deathwing and heal him up. Once they're down, you're going to get the same kind of cycle of ads again. If you get shrapnel on you, make sure you use Dream. I've already mentioned healers being your friend. Shrapnel will probably kill you at this point, as you will see in a moment when I make a right royal fuck up. We're going to go again. We're going to DPS Deathwing down again, and we're going to get him to the next stage, and we're going to get more bloods. You don't get a lot of time to see where they're coming from, but if you keep an eye out, you will see a kind of rippling on the floor first. At this point, we get some that actually get back to Deathwing, but it's at this point, this far through the progressive buff in Dragon Soul, it's not the end of the world if a couple get back to him and healing up 1 or 2%. As long as you have the DPS to get him down, that's the main thing. And at this point, we do have the DPS to get him down, so we're pushing him again. We're going to get the same set of ads up again, but at this point, we're just going to concentrate on the bloods. The bloods are the thing that are going to tip the tide of this encounter. And at that point, I get a ridiculous amount of AoE on those, and again, oh, the numbers. But I think a couple get back as well, so you know you do really have to concentrate there and just push out as much AoE as you possibly can. And like I said, at this point, watch out if you've got shrapnel on you, because if you have and you don't use Dream, it's all going to end terribly. But a kill's a kill, and I'm happy with that, and we went home with a big smile on our faces. So hopefully you can get through this fight. It is an awesome fight, and more importantly, I hope you're going to walk away with the mount or some epic awesome loot. Good luck.